Yo, what is going on, guys? Sneaky McDucky here, and I'm bringing you guys a game of domination on the map Raid. As Woody's gamertag usually says in the beginning of his videos these days, this video is not about the gameplay, but instead is a guide on how to do well in domination. Now, this might be a two-part series depending on how long I feel like talking. I'm going to give you guys some class setup tips along with some strategies on not only how to do well, but how to win the game. I feel as if we have gone away from these types of videos. I'm sure there are some people out there that just picked up Black Ops 2. It's their first Call of Duty ever. And when I first started back in the day, back in Modern Warfare 2, I had no clue what to do. So what did I do? I went onto YouTube and I learned how to get better. I just don't see that stuff anymore. So if you're new, I hope this little guide helps you out. Before we get down to business, I'll talk a little bit about the gameplay. So I'm using the tower with my kill streak set as the Hunter Killer, Lightning Strike, and the Stealth Chopper. Now I get to all three in this game, but the Chopper does absolutely nothing. I believe it gets shot down right away, which is disappointing, but what can you do? It's part of the game. As you guys will see, the Hunter Killer just does work for me. I think it picks up a 4-piece, which is pretty rare, so watch out for that. Alright, enough of that. Let's talk domination in general, and let's start with the basic concept. The goal of domination, or Dom, how us vets like to call it, is to win by capturing and holding enough flags to rack up 200 points before the other team does. 1 point is awarded per flag for every 5 seconds of possession. That's 12 points per flag. Yeah, that's right, I did the math. Depending on the quality of the host connection, the relative strength of your team, and the temperament, you may achieve this goal either by simply holding 2 flags or capping all 3. The 2 flag cap is the more conservative approach to winning and is often favored because it makes it easier to anticipate from which direction the opposition will be coming from. The 2 flags most typically taken are your spawn flag and the next closest flag, which is most often B. From experience though, you're gonna need the B flag to win the game. Unlike previous Call of Duties, Black Ops 2 only offers linear flags. Now what I mean by that is they all line up in the straight line, so it's nearly impossible to win with the AC flag approach. In previous Call of Duties though, some maps would have the flags positioned as if they were in a triangle and you could get away with having A and C, but in this game, you're definitely going to need a whole B to have any chance. Certain spawns on specific maps offer a better team setup in domination than others, so you and your teammates may decide to flip the other team by taking their spawn flag and leaving yours undefended. Your team will spawn on the newly capped flag once the enemies in its vicinity are killed off. One aspect of domination you should keep in mind when using this maneuver, your team spawns on the last flag that's capped. The 3 flag cap or triple cap can cause you to win very quickly and it keeps the opposite team from scoring any points. However, it can also make winning a game much more challenging, thereby also increasing the game's intensity and fun as you can't easily anticipate where the enemy team will respawn. This approach to domination requires very good team communication and is often discussed beforehand. Even a 2 flag strategy will occasionally require a triple cap in order to pull off a comeback win. Winning in domination sometimes requires a player to wear many hats. Flexibility is a key feature in a team player. That said, it's helpful for the purposes of this overview to map out some typical roles players take on themselves. The names I'm about to reference are arbitrary. Most people don't really identify themselves as playing one specific role. Some of the most common roles are the Capper, Defender, Killer, and Griever. I'll talk a little bit about each role starting with the Capper. The Capper attempts to capture flags, solo if need be. They will sacrifice themselves repeatedly to capture a flag, when needed. The captor often defends the same flag once it's taken. Teams should have 3 or more players equipped to perform this role as needed. Onto the Defender. The Defender will commit to staying close to the objective as needed to ensure his team retains control. Unique class setups can help but are not necessary. A Defender often is the first person to attempt a recap if a flag is lost, and therefore often uses the capper setup throughout the game. The Killer. The Killer positions himself to interdict enemy routes, rack up kills, build kill streaks, and maintain map control. Distinct from the Defender in that he often maintains his position whether a flag is under attack or not. Killers can play as defenders if their position on the map allows it. An important role, but not necessarily suited for everyone. Teams full of killers usually lose in domination. Finally, the Griever. The Griever is a variation of the Killer role, distinct for his mobility and for taking the fight to the enemy. The Griever is good for disrupting the enemy by rushing towards the enemy spawn, often with runner perks and a shotgun or submachine gun. He often caps the 3rd flag when desired or needed. It's a specialist role that is not critical but can be very useful when facing a team full of rushers. Now, as I said, you don't necessarily need to assign these roles to specific players, but what you need to do is make sure you have the ability to do all four. Me specifically, when I first started playing, I was a capper. I didn't care what happened to me. If we needed a flag, I was determined to get it. Nowadays, while I still consider myself a capper, I pretty much do all four roles in a game. The gameplay you're watching is a great example of that. If we were ever in any danger of losing flags or the game, I would have been doing whatever it took to get the flags back. Alright, let's move on to some class setups. If you feel you're not suited for the killer or griever role, you need to consider how you're going to help with defending and capturing flags. There are several tools of the trade that help immensely with objective play. Here are just a few and more of the common ones. The first and maybe the most important perk you're going to want to run is Flak Jacket. Flak Jacket helps you survive multiple explosive blasts, which can make the difference between a successful and unsuccessful flag cap. The second perk you're going to want to run is Tactical Mask. When you jump on a flag, you're more than likely going to get hit with a flash or stun grenade. Now those things are annoying, and this perk will reduce the effects not only with those, but with shock charges. And everybody runs shock charges. It's essentially a UAV for the person because when you set it off, they know exactly where you are. And from my experience, as soon as you hit one of those things, the guy is popping out to kill you. By reducing the effects, you give yourself a better chance at winning a gunfight. Now, if you're not into the whole tactical mask thing, my other suggestion would be to run Engineer. It's a perk that I run on just about every class. The only thing more annoying than the flash and stuns are the bouncing betties. Now with Flak Jacket, they're probably not going to kill you, but if you take damage for one of those, plus get hit with an oncoming nade, you're gonna go down. With Engineer, you get to see those betties and shock charges pretty much from across the map. And with Engineer enabled, you're able to call out to teammates that are about to run into one, and you're able to take them out yourself. There's just nothing more annoying than making your way to a flag just to get killed by one of those things. Now that we've talked perks, let's talk tactical and lethal grenades. We'll start with the lethal grenades, and I'd say that 5 out of the 6 that are offered are useful. The C4, the Bouncing Betty, and Claymores are my personal preferences to use while playing Domination. You're able to just put them down and away you go. Most of the time the enemy is clueless and they end up being easy kills for you. If you're more of a run and gunner guy, I would suggest the Semtex or the grenade. With the Semtex or grenade, you're able to just throw those things long distances and prevent enemies from taking flags. While the combat axe is fun to use, it really doesn't serve a purpose in Domination, so I would avoid using that at all costs. On to tactical. You could pretty much use any tactical piece that you want. They all have their advantages. The only one that I would maybe stay away from is the sensor grenade. I just really haven't found a purpose for that yet. If I had to pick just one of the tacticals, I would almost lean on running smoke. There really isn't a counter to it. It covers a huge area when they throw it down, and it makes it nearly impossible for the other team to see you. And when the other team doesn't have a clue where you are, you're more than likely going to be able to get a flag. Finally, let's move on to guns. There isn't any specific gun that will help you in Domination. That's all personal preference, but pick one that fits your style of play. One perk for a gun I would suggest using is the Silencer. The Silencer is great for defenders facing multiple opponents. Silence weapons keep you off the minimap, which gives you more time to take one or more of the enemy down before they can locate you. The Silencer is also best when combined with a concealed spot. We're starting to run out of time in this video, so what I think I'll do is cut myself off here and make another video. In the next video, we'll talk about kill streaks to use, some techniques to use when capping flags solo and as a team, and finally calculating the win. In that next video, I'll also try to answer any questions you might have, so please, if you have anything, leave it in the comments below. Also, if you think I did anything good in this video, don't be afraid to give it a thumb up. It helps get the video out there. Finally, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button, baby. I'd love to have you aboard the Sneaky McDucky Express. I end up going 35 and 11 with 4 caps and 14 defends in this game, and that's it. I'll see you guys in a few days for part 2 of this video and to answer any of your questions. As always, later, players. Ooh, you're lucky. This dude gets saved by the bell. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, players.